surface hiking, and I got to a point in my career where I was not working inspecting meat and poultry, and I thought I need to be outside. I need to do something more fun. So I put an application in for Mammoth Cave and been here for 19 years.
Okay, so that was in 80 something maybe.
80, yeah, let's see, 96 I think. That sound right?
All right. Where were you living at the time? Are you a local person?
Actually, I grew up in Southern California, but I've been in Kentucky since '79. I went to Western Kentucky University. I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I just fell in love with Mammoth Cave.
Mm-hmm. What was your first time out to this particular location?
My first experience at Mammoth Cave was when we came as a family and went on a cave tour. My youngest daughter was 5 at the time, and the thing I remember most is the guide going to do a blackout in the cave and asked everybody to close their eyes. And after everybody had already experienced the single match, the single candle, the lights were back on, and my daughter says, "Can I open my eyes now?" And the entire group just laughed, you know. But that was a really wonderful time for me. Had no idea that I was going to be working here.
What was that process? Some people have spoke about taking a couple of years to make until their application got through the process. Was it?
I was told it's extremely competitive. You'll never get your foot in the door. I made an application in February and was called in March to see if I was available. I started working in the ticket office, did the phone room, did the information desk. Joy Lyons came out and said, "I've heard you talking to folks. Will you guide for me?" I said, "Yes, I will."
So that information desk, was that just part of the first year and you went into interpretation then?
Then I went into interpretation.
Huh. So how were your colleagues in your training in interpretation? You spoke that Joy Lyons was somebody who was astute enough to, figure out you had what it took probably. But then how does the training work, and how would you describe that in your own way?
The training was, I thought, really didn't lend itself to guiding. We did a whole lot of what everybody at the park does, administration, and we did our first aid and CPR training and what have you. They took us on a couple of cave tours, basically said, "Hey, there's the library, there's the cave," put a program together. So I think it was made challenging on purpose, just so that they could see how we're going to develop ourselves.
So was there a script about a certain, let's say you're training to do a certain tour, was there a script, or is it something that you had to put together from the ground up?
We put them together from the ground up. We go with somebody that's been doing this a couple of years, get some good ideas, and then we're pretty much on our own.
What are some memories of, am I correct to think there's a leader of the tour, and then oftentimes, most times there's a trailer, there's two
Yes.
service ranger employees guiding? And do you start as the trailer and listening to the work of the other?
That's typically how it starts. They encourage you to stand up in front of a group as quick as you can. And I think the longer you wait to do that, the harder it is. So if you can jump up and do it right away, you're better off. One of the most difficult things for people to do is stand up in front of a large group and talk. And if you can just get the first one over with, it's a lot easier.
Did you have a prior experience in speaking, public speaking?
Not at all. I had no experience in public speaking.
Was it stressful?
Not really. I'd had so many contacts with people at the information desk that, I'm pretty much a people person. Standing up in front of a large group is a little bit different. They're closer in contact with you. so you don't have that information desk as a barrier, but it's not that bad.
So what were the coworkers like that as you were going through this process? Did a few things at the desk and got put into interpretation and guiding. Was it, what is that process among rangers pushing you forward and that sort of thing? Is there certain individuals that stand out, or, I mean, you don't have to name names, but if you care to.
I think some of the older guides that have been here, they just take you under their wing and give you all the encouragement they can. And that's just how the process starts that way. But everybody encourages everybody else. It just seems to work that way.
How about those first few years of interpretation? Do you have any special memories of an event that happened with some visitors, or something that solidified, this is why I do what I do, or maybe some satisfaction or some stress that made you ponder? Do you have any?
It's like that aha moment, like when you get it. Gosh, I'd have to think about it for a couple of minutes to think of something really good.
Sure.
But I know I've had that aha moment too. Like, they got it, this is what I do, woo!
You've done interpretation, and I think some folks have also expressed that they've done a lot of things. They've guided different tours, more strenuous tours, less strenuous tours, and things evolve over their careers. But you've also done a lot of other things, and I don't know if we talked before about doing some firefighting and things. Were those things prior to coming here, or were they because you worked for the Park Service?
I got involved in a lot of different things because I worked for the park, but things that I might be interested in. I've had coworkers that's, particularly my friend Bryce, who said, you need to be doing fire. I think you'd like it. I'm like, well, what do I need to do? And he said, well, you have to carry this 45-pound pack for 3 miles in less than 45 minutes. And I said, I'm not going to carry a 45-pound pack anywhere. But then I found out I really, really like doing fire. And I actually made the team to be a public information officer. I haven't been doing much of that. I'm just a trainee right now, but hopefully I'll get back on the team and still be able to do something with fire.
This is fire training. How does that work? Because, I'm just learning as I go here. Does that mean you would be fighting fires locally? You would be dispatched anywhere that the Park Service might want to? And if so, have you? And those sorts of things?
Absolutely. I have helped with prescribed fire here at Mammoth Cave. I went down to Congaree Swamp in South Carolina to help them with the prescribed fire. We took a group of Job Corps students with us. So I got really involved with helping Job Corps students help get their feet wet in fire. It was kind of an interesting thing. I've been out west on a few fires. The very first fire I went on was 2006 and fell in love with it. If we think the Park Service is a family unit, firefighters are even closer, a little bit closer, more intimate family units. So that's why I liked it. It's really fun.
So you met up, were you traveling there with other firefighters from our region, or did you just get thrown out there and you started to create this whole other folk group for yourself?
We traveled as a 20-person crew. So the first fire I went on, there were 3 of us from Mammoth Cave, somebody from Great Smokies, somebody from Land Between the Lakes, and the rest of the guys from Alabama. They called themselves the Alabama Burners, the Bama Burners. Great guys.
I don't think this is jumping around, but one of the interesting things about this project is to talk to so many different rangers, temporary, seasonal,
Yes.
permanent, working in law enforcement and all sorts of things. But and talking to women and how that's changed. You said you have nearly 20 years in here. And from talking to you, you've done a lot of things and a lot of, it's almost, maybe you can speak to the fact that, you know, is this a male-oriented occupation, either as you're doing interpretation, as you're doing public information training, as you're doing firefighting? All those things are so interesting to me about the evolution of equality or perception of opportunity.
I think this used to be male dominated, and it's totally turned. It seems to be more female oriented nowadays.
How so?
It seems like we have like a lot more women that come on staff than we see men hired on. And I think more women stay with it once they get in. Maybe it's just here at this park, but we see a lot of women coming into this. We like to talk, you know.
And the firefighting aspect, you know, and I'm stereotyping, but I'm thinking about, and I'm stereotyping because of the physicality, I guess. And you mentioned it about the 45-pound pack and the testing. You started that in the 90s?
2006.
Okay.
And I, you know, should have taken Bryce's advice and started much earlier with it. But
How were those colleagues once you get out in the field?
oh gosh, those guys are great. My first experience was the best fire detail ever.
Tell me about it.
We went to Oregon. We were on the Cascade mountain range, hiking at 6,000 feet. First few days a little rough on us flatlanders, but after we got that elevation taken care of, we just had a great time. Wonderful guys to work with. I was the only woman out of the 20 people crew, so I think more women are starting to get involved with fire. But my second fire, there were two of us on a 20-person crew, 2 women. So it's not as predominantly women as it is men. It is hard work, you know. It's very physically demanding, but I enjoy that. I like the challenge.
And this job allows you to try new things and new challenges?
It really does. If you're in a fire, if you have a red card showing that you're a firefighter, if we go to level 5 in the nation for you know, catastrophic fire, then they say, yeah, you can be available, and pretty much all hands are on deck. It's not just for fire though, because I got to go to Hurricane Sandy detail. About 3 weeks in New York just helping them get their, you know, footing again.
Tell me some of the daily duties of that particular.
That I was actually on a camp crew, so I was the camp crew leader, and we were basically taking care of the facilities to enable our folks to get the job done. So sometimes it's a low-life job, but you know, all work has to be done. I actually had somebody on that. I was emptying trash, and one of the firefighters said, "Aren't you a firefighter?" I said, "Yes, I am." "Why are you emptying trash?" "Because it needs to be done." You know, no job is really too small. I think it all needs to be done. Everybody plays their part. So I got a letter of commendation from the park police up there because I went and scrubbed down their bathrooms for them. So that was kind of neat, you know.
It's about teamwork, isn't it? Yeah.
It is all about teamwork. And I don't know too many people that got a commendation for scrubbing a bathroom before. So.
So you've explored a lot of things, and you've been asked when you do interpretation to kind of find your own way. You've listened to other guides as you do. But I think Joy Lyons was a big proponent of, you know, making that a crucial part, because you had to really figure how you're going to present it in your way. Can you tell me a little bit more about your naturalistic approaches and what you're drawn to. I know that you know a lot about plants, and how did that come about? Is that something you brought here? Is it something you started to explore once you got here? And can you tell me about how you shared that with people and in what ways?
Sure. I took a course when I lived in Florida. It was a greenhouse operations, nursery management, landscaping type course. Learned a lot about plants because I really like having my hands in the dirt and gardening and what have you. And I just kind of lost that information for a little bit, and then I kind of went back into it once I got up here in Kentucky, went to school, learned a lot about animals, put those two things together and did a lot of farming and those kind of things. And then when I got here to the park, we have over 1,000 flowering plants here. I'm very interested in how these plants have been used medicinally by native people and by early Europeans to come to the country. So I put all of those elements together into a program, Folk Medicinals, and did an evening program about that. May get to do that again as we get closer to this centennial. We're going to be doing some costumed interpretations, and I had an idea to do something like Grandma's herb garden or something, and just do something kind of interactive with people. I've even taken sewing skills and turned that into a program where we were doing a quilting bee. I'm talking about Folklife and how people come together to do different activities. I even got a group of Boy Scouts to piece a quilt together. And I thought, how is this going to work? I've got a whole auditorium full of Boy Scouts. I don't know, but it worked and they were great. So I was like, this works for a lot of people, just showing how communities can come together through plants, through sewing, through all of these horrible chores that you had to get done, and talk about how people do that as a community and take kind of the burden off of each other and make a party out of it. So one program I did one day was with a kids program, and one of the bus drivers had brought a big watermelon. And I thought, how can I eat watermelon and do this kids program at the same time? And I figured out a way to do that. And I took everybody out back. Everybody had their own watermelon. We talked about gardening and canning and putting up food. And then we talked about the fun side of having a watermelon seed spitting contest. So I had even Grandpa and everybody out there spitting watermelon seeds. So I just kind of do stuff impromptu sometimes.
Your aha moments.
My aha moments.
That's right. You mentioned you had, when you first came to the park, you had, it was on a family trip, meaning your family.
Mm-hmm.
And it was you had a 5-year-old child, at least. You have one child, at least one child. Has your family been, how have they approached this on your journey, your occupational journey working here? Have they been drawn to it? Have they followed in your footsteps? That's maybe not the right thing to say, but is it something that has given them a specialized passion or respect? Or can you speak to that if it's appropriate?
Absolutely. I think national parks lend themselves to be family oriented. Everyone here embraces family. So my daughters, as they have grown, they've been out here at the park a lot. They've brought their children out here to the park. Both of them got into natural, outdoorsy kind of things, as recreation. So I think just the whole setting of national parks lends themselves to be family oriented. And I know a lot of people here raise their families in the park. And some of them, as you say, some of them love this, and some of them, just kind of push it away. But I think for the most part, they embrace it. How can you not love a park?
Right. How old are they today? Well,
yeah, it's like
24
you're
and-
making me think now.
5 plus 19 is 24 probably or something.
Actually, let's see. We came before I even started here, probably a good 10, 12 years. So, yeah. My girls are grown. I have 6 grandkids. The oldest granddaughter just turned 18 in December. So, and then the youngest grandson is 6. So, and they're all involved with the park too. So.
Satisfying. Yeah. We think about your concept of stewardship. I was watching that Ken Burns piece, and just thinking about that as a touchstone, for why you do what you do. Or is that something you could speak to?
Stewardship to me means not just for the park, but the planet. I'm one of those people that picks up trash as I walk up the road. I'm taking my dog for a walk, I'm picking up trash. Sometimes I have so much of it that I have to go back with the truck and load it up. But it means much more than just taking care of the park. Because if we don't work together and take care of our planet, we're not going to have anything here. Mm-hmm. So, just teaching other people how to take care of it and igniting something in them makes them care enough to do that.
After almost 20 years, has there been a change in visitors' perceptions? The way that, maybe not you teach, you evolve just like we all do. Have you seen a change in how you present, you and your colleagues present the park, or an increased awareness about special subjects about the planet, the park, the environment?
I would like to say I've seen an increase in people caring, but I've seen an increase in people caring about their electronic devices, and they seem to be learning about the world around them by something electronic, and that's disturbing to me. Learning about the planet means getting out and touching things, not holding something in your hand. I don't know where we're going to go. This last summer, I almost had a fist fight break out at my program, one of my programs, because a lady answered her cell phone and was talking really loud. So somebody, please step away from the group, and they started an argument at the back, at the back of the amphitheater. So I don't know how to address that. I just kind of laughed about it and just kept on talking.
And it finally resolved, however,
It
something.
sort of resolved itself. The lady wasn't going to let it go real easy, so she continued with it even after the program. Finally, the guy says, "You know what? I'm sorry for starting trouble at your program." But he wrote a nice little note later, which was kind of neat. Sent me a CD, Woody Guthrie. I was doing a program about the Civilian Conservation Corps, so
Nice.
I had some Woody Guthrie.
So Darlene, we were talking a little bit about other things, or maybe some stories, and you mentioned something about a personal experience narrative that you had in the cave. Can you tell me about it?
A few people have already had an experience in a place called Methodist Church, where most of us believe there's something going on there. Maybe it's haunted. I had a personal experience while I was standing at the church one day. My partner was going to do a blackout, and I heard shuffling around. I was getting ready to turn off the light. I heard shuffling around, and I glance over and I see somebody kind of moving around, and I wait till they get back to the group, and I turn the light off. All of a sudden, footsteps are coming straight towards me like somebody's going to run right into me. And I held my breath because it stood like right face to face with me. And what I noticed was I couldn't see the lantern lit across the room. And then I realized that I was holding my breath, and as I let my breath out, all of a sudden it vanished, whatever this thing was. Much later, the same guy and I were on a different tour. This might have been a couple of years later, right after the new lights were installed in the cave. And the guy that was doing the lighting project said, I can't understand what happens there at the church with the lights, but all of the lights are off right now, so you should have a tour, because we had a lantern tour. Well, we get down there, Bobby's leading, and I notice as I look up the boardwalk that the light is on at the church. And I think, okay, I'm going to walk on up there and turn it off. I took 2 or 3 steps and the light went off. I'm like, okay, whoever's back there is going to be coming up here. I'll just wait and see who it is. And nobody ever came. Bobby finished talking. We started walking. And the light was on at the church again. Like, I don't get it. So I turn the light off as we go through. We go back to Star Chamber, and on our way back, the light is on again. So I turn it off. We go up into Gothic Avenue. And on our way back out, you have to use a key to turn that off. So I turn that light off. And I'm like, there's still a light on. The light was on at the church again. So I turned it off, and I told Bobby, I don't know what's going on, but we're leaving now. And nobody can explain the light at the church. Mysteries. Mysteries of Mammoth Cave.
So you have something connected with Bobby, that very special thing. Because he experienced, I mean, you experienced it in your own ways, but you experienced it together. Bobby Carson?
Actually, it's Bobby Beams, who was standing at that particular light switch with a different partner getting ready to turn the lights off. Another guy noticed that he was standing there, and because he cannot hear very well, snuck up on him in the dark and grabbed a hold of him and made him scream like a little girl. So we all still laugh about that too. So we individually had issues there, and then together had some, twice now.
It's a close-knit group, some more than others. Of course, you probably have disagreements with people, but can you tell me about can you tell me about camaraderie? Maybe that's, and again, I may be putting you on the spot, but it's just, I've had little details about how people take care of one another or do things, or these little things. And I don't know if that's...
I think we do have a tendency to kind of take care of each other, like a family group. One guy had a foot problem one day, said, I'm afraid to go tell him because, whatever, for whatever reason. So I said, well, I'll go ask if I can take your place, The other day I had an issue. I said, my neck has been bothering me, and my coworker says, hey, well, I'll do that for you then, So I think we really kind of work together and try and take care of each other.
So your career has been a period of exploration and education, you educating others, you being educated. 19 years in, where are you now? What are your hopes and aspirations for the future as you go forward in your career?
I think I could do interpretation just about anywhere now. I've been doing interpretation for our fire interpretation workshop. I've done interpretation for our National Association for Interpretation. I think that just carries over. People see you walking down the street and ask you questions. You have no idea who they are, and you're not in uniform, but maybe there's some glow about you that says, hey, I know the answer to this, or, I can help you. But I just really kind of see just continuing with this whole process of getting the word out about whatever needs to be talked about. I can talk about anything.
And make it engaging.
Hopefully.
So as you're guiding and doing interpretation on a cave tour, it's pretty important to listen to any stories about how people listen or don't listen or something like that.
You bet. Crawling tours are really important to follow instructions, and you get people down there that don't pay attention, they're not following instructions. And I had one guy that fell on his head and pile drive his helmet and scalped him. He ended up with a concussion, but miraculously he was able to walk out of the cave on his own.
So how did he fall? Or what was the...
He was climbing up a place called the Lion's Head, and as he tried to sit on the top of the Lion's Head like we do, he had a water bottle in his pocket that caused him to roll off. It was pretty scary. I had a guide. The guide working with me that day was freshly trained. This was his very first trip. And I said, Spencer, can you get to Grand Central from here to the telephone? And he says, I think so. And I said, no. Can you get there? And he says, yes. And he took off. Miraculously, he got to Grand Central in like 30 minutes, just record time. He's a real tall, Langley guy. I also had a guy with me on the tour who has been on the tour about 100 times. And he asked me should I go with him. I said, no, Tom, I think I need you to just do group entertainment up there while I'm down here dealing with this. So we were able to make it all work and got the guy out. And
So did he need medical attention? Was there anything going on outside? What was going on at the park when you exited?
this was 4th of July weekend, so we had a lot of Cave Research Foundation folks there. They were surprised that the guy was walking out on his own. I was supposed to go to a party that night, but I was like, I think I'm a little stressed out for that. So I didn't go to the 4th of July party. And it took me a while to be able to get over the fact that this guy had gotten really hurt. I mean, it could have been even worse than it was. When I first looked at him, I thought he was dead, so I thought he maybe broke his neck. And he was breathing horribly, like... And his girlfriend was up on top of the rock with me looking down, and I had to grab her from being a victim, because you can't just jump down there, So there's a certain way you have to do that climb, up and down. And if people are not listening, I know a lot of people do not climb up the Lion's Head anymore because of that. And we do have good caving helmets now, though, because of that incident. So out of the bad, something good happened, But yeah, it could have been a tragic incident. But
is that probably the most intense time of all your many caves?
Probably the most intense moment in my career here at Mammoth Cave.
Do you see the Lion's Head as a different place after that?
I climb up and down it, but I would never take a group back up it after that. It was just left its mark on me. Maybe people shouldn't be doing something that is that unsafe. If they're not going to listen. If they listen, they can do it fine. But if they don't, bad things can happen.